Christian parenting.
Marriage is the foundation of our families. When our marriage is strong, our families are strong. And when our marriage is struggling, our families struggle too. And we all know that we should prioritize our marriages, but in the busyness of life and parenting, it is so easy to just push it aside and say, we're going to focus on that later. But if you're feeling the nudge to invest in your marriage, our newest digital guide, Marriage Simplified, is the resource for you. Also, if you struggle with difficult conversations about divorce, blending families, in-laws, or single parenting, we cover those topics head on too. So inside this guide, you're going to find our best podcasts, videos, and articles on all things marriage. You're also going to find conversation guides and discussion questions for your spouse and your kids. And the best part is, since this guide is digital, you can download it straight to your phone or computer and search through resources whenever you need. Marriage is far from simple, and no guide can truly simplify it, but we are so glad that you are taking the time to pore over these resources and strengthen the relationship and family that God has blessed you with. You can go to cpgive.org to download your copy for just $5. That's the best of the best resources from top Christian parenting contributors for just $5. Again, that's cpgive.org. Hey guys, welcome to the Christian Parenting Podcast. This is a place where you are equipped with tools to parent your kids in the Christian faith. I'm Trevor Thurling. I'm the Executive Director of Christian Parenting and host of this podcast. So over the last few years, I have talked more about school than I ever thought that I would. And because of that, we are starting a series about school. I really, honestly, never thought about school that much when I became a parent. I went to public school. My husband, Trevor, went to his local public school. And then we bought a house in the neighborhood we did so that our kids would go to the public school we wanted them in. But then COVID hit and we homeschooled, and now they're at a small Christian private school. So we have tried it all. And honestly, I can't say that we won't ever change our mind again. So I'm joined by my husband, Trevor, today to talk about school choices and how we've navigated all that as a family and what our decision-making process looked like. So this episode is kicking off a whole series about school choice, and we're going to spend 4 weeks covering different options like private school, public school, homeschool, and online school. And each episode will talk about the benefits and challenges and what type of families might do well in that school setting and so much more. And I just want to be clear that you might hear some bias in each episode, and that's kind of the point because you're going to hear from teachers, parents, and administrators about why they love the school that they're in. And the goal is that you hear about all the different options and make a decision that works best for your family, and we can help you navigate that a little bit. But remember, no matter what you hear, seek God first. So we're going to kick off this whole series with my husband, Trevor, and I hope that you enjoy it. Welcome back, Trevor. I'm glad to have you here. As we record, it's the last day of school for our kids, and we're talking about school and school choices and how we got to all make the decisions we did for our kids and where they go to school. So I feel like it's appropriate because we're going to go pick them up in a couple hours from the last day of school and then have a bunch of kids here and have a little party to celebrate summer.
Nothing better.
Yeah, I'm ready for summer personally. I need a little break from homework and waking up early and all of the things.
Yes, for sure. I can only make so many peanut butter sandwiches.
I know. Trevor does all the lunches, so he's ready for that to be done too. Okay. Well, we're going to talk about just kind of our history of school because we've kind of tried a lot of the different options, and we have had a lot of conversations about school that I didn't really know we were going to have. And we're just trying to figure it out. And Calvin is going to high school in 2 years. So he's going into 8th grade next year, which means we have to start making decisions about where he's going to go to high school. Does he go to the private school? Does he go to our public school? What do we do? So we're still figuring out school. And I think kind of take it year by year and honestly, quarter semester by quarter semester. So when we first started talking about school with our kids, like what were your thoughts about what they were going to do for school?
I just assumed they would go to the local public school. I wanted them to go to a school that was high quality academically and that was close to our house. Those were really my measuring sticks.
Yeah. I mean, we both went to public school. We just went to our local schools all the way through, and we bought our house in the area where we thought that we wanted our kids to go to school. So we were like, this is the school district we want to be in. We're going to buy a house there. And that's just the way it's going to be. And it's kind of changed over time in unexpected ways, partially because of COVID. That really was kind of the catalyst for us to reconsider what we were doing. But that was we didn't put much thought into school when we became parents. It wasn't anything I thought we would be discussing.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, I think we just sort of assumed it would work out, right? Pick a good school district that you can live by, and that was it.
Yeah. When we were deciding schools, once we were kind of like, wait. So basically what happened with us is our oldest two went to public school, and then COVID happened, and we took them home like everybody else. And then the next year we decided to homeschool because we just didn't know what the year would look like. And Trevor has never been able to work from home before. And all of a sudden he was working from home. And so we had the opportunity to go spend like almost 2 months away in the middle of the winter. We went to New Orleans and Florida for a long time, and we're able to just like travel and have fun, and felt like we had a little more control over the year that felt chaotic. We didn't really want our kids to have to miss a ton of school because of exposures and all the things. So we pulled them out. And then after that year, went to private school. So it was kind of a journey to get to where we're at. What were you like drawn to? What were you hesitant about? Like, why do you think that?
What was I drawn to for our new school?
For anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was drawn to our original school because it was a great school district. I mean, it's one of the best school districts in the state, really well reviewed, great community, checks all the boxes. And then, COVID hit, and, there was some politics in the school. Like I'd had a school board run that revealed sort of some really intense divisions in our community. And so I saw the best of people and the very, very worst of people, friends and neighbors and things that show up in a different way. And so that, to be honest, sort of soured me a little bit on our own district.
Kind of blocked that out of my head, to be honest.
It's right. It was kind of traumatic.
Yeah.
You think you're going to go serve your community, and then it gets a little bit ugly. That wasn't certainly the reason we left. I think I was super hesitant. I would say I was very resistant, stubborn, in fact, to go to private school. I was like, we did not build a house in the state's best school district to not go to school there. We can figure this out. And you really had to drag me along kind of kicking and screaming at first, to go to private school. But, I think I'm really glad we did in hindsight. Like, I'm glad you dragged me kicking and screaming. I guess my hesitation was that I didn't know that it was going to be any better academically. I didn't think it could be any better academically than what we were leaving. I certainly didn't want to spend the money on private school when we have a great school district. And candidly, I think my position was always that I thought that school was for academics, and I didn't think it was necessary to have faith as part of our school experience. Obviously, faith is family, and we are, heavily involved in church and stuff, but I thought that was where faith belonged. I didn't really think of school as the important center of faith. And so I was sort of resistant to it because I felt like it was an unnecessary focus for academics, to be at a private Christian school when the academics were great at the local public school, and that we have a great church community, and that was good enough for us. So how about you?
Yeah. Well, I really wanted you on to talk about this, to kind of like share with people that we were not on the same page with school. And that I think is pretty common. Like, I feel like a lot of our friends have had to work through discussions of one spouse being like, yes, I want to do this, and the other not. When we took our kids home to homeschool them, I was using kind of a combination of secular and Christian curriculum. And I all of a sudden was like, I love having faith as we're teaching our kids about everything in school. And so I really was drawn to our Christian curriculum and really loved it. And it took you, like you're saying, a minute to kind of get on board with that. I'm not really sure at what point we got on the same page. I think we had a lot of conversations about it. At one point, finances are hard. I think we just have to be really honest about that. Sending your kids to a private school is financially a huge commitment and a sacrifice. Someone told me that investing in your kids is the best investment you can make. And I think that kind of helped me think of it as an investment and not just an extra expense. But I think that was really hard. And I think it's hard for a lot of families because it is costly.
Yeah. And finances are a source of tension sometimes, right? I think that was certainly a consideration. I think one of the turning points for me was we had some friends at the time whose kids were going to our current school. And the dad was like, this is the best decision you will ever make. He was super hesitant at first too. And then his kids had been doing so much writing, like handwriting, learning cursive, public speaking, like things that are our local school were actually not doing to the same degree. Our local school is very, very well funded, our local public school. And so they leaned in super heavily to technology. And like these kids are on iPads from the second they're in like third grade. And it's big time technology, big time pouring into it. And there's a little bit of nervousness that we were focused on the technology being so cool that we were going to miss the blocking and tackling of sort of basic academics. And Chapel Hill does a great job of the basic blocking and tackling academics, like reading, writing, arithmetic, sort of like they really heavily focus on it. And this dad was like, my daughter comes home and she writes like 6-page papers and has to prep for public speaking with just like keyword outlines and stand up and deliver in front of people on a monthly basis. And he watched her change in her confidence and ability to not only digest material, but to interpret it and then present it in a different way. And that's such a life skill that I think is missing, certainly in our own generation. And so I thought it was really cool that was the case. And he was like, look, if you wasted money, he kind of challenged me. He was like, wait, what, you can't afford a 1-year experiment? So we went for it.
What do you think? I feel like the technology change has been interesting. And I'm actually curious to see how all schools are going to handle technology in the future as more and more information comes out. Like we're scaling back even more on technology next year. Our middle schoolers aren't having laptops come home. They'll just be in the classroom and you'll have to use a family computer. But it'll be interesting to see what happens just around the world as we maybe scale back on technology, even though it's so important, but just the research that's coming out. But that's the priority in our family that I thought changed a little bit is I really appreciate that at our kids' school and at the kind of feeder high school, the private high school that many kids go to, like there are no phones around. And that is something that I didn't think about. The faith was something that I didn't think about being part of school because it was nothing that I had ever experienced as a kid. What do you think, like, what values or priorities for you have changed as our kids have shifted through different schools and have grown up?
Yeah, I think my values for school at the beginning were to give our kids a good academic foundation so that they could be successful in life, that they would have good underpinnings for academic success. And I think any school can kind of do that. They can lay the groundwork for academic success. That is sort of the basics of like, that's why you're accredited as a school. That's your job. So Most schools can do that. But I think, one of the things that one of my friends said to me, our good friends and actually godparents to one of our kids, said to me when I was going through this decision, and we were talking about all of the sort of the big ugly political topics that are out there, right? When it comes to things like, gender identity and social equity and all of these kinds of things that are out there in front of us all the time. And he goes, you are dealing with really impressionable young minds that are just sponges. They're absorbing everything that's given to them, not just at home, but at school. And he was like, you have to think about like, who are the people that you're allowing to pour into your kids on a daily basis? Because they get to speak to them in a place where their brains are ready to absorb. You get them the very morning when they're tired, and you get them in the afternoon when they're tired. And so in that peak time, when they have all of the ability to learn and absorb, someone else is speaking into them. And you really have to think about who those people are and pick people that you trust pouring into your kids because they help set their identity in a lot of ways and who they are and what their hopes and dreams are. And that really hit me. And I think that has shifted the way I think about school. I think I want our kids to come out of their schooling experience, not only being academically sound, but sound in who they are as a person, understanding their role in their community and their society, understanding what it means to be a good friend, understanding what it means to be a leader, understanding what it means to stand for something. And actually, in our Christian school, understanding that you have to sometimes be different and understanding that you have to be really, really solid in your faith in order to do those other things that are not academic. Like faith is the underpinning foundation of understanding who you are. You watch all the things that are going on with identity and anxiety and depression, especially in youth. And the big thing that scares me about it is that there's not a bedrock of anything holding these kids up. And I think that has really shifted my belief in what a school should do is help. Obviously, there's a huge place for family and church to play in that, but school is a major contributing factor. And I really, really want that bedrock of faith to be established so that our kids can understand what their identity is, who it's rooted in, and what their place is in the world.
Yeah. So you guys have probably heard me talk about IXL before, and that is because I truly love it. IXL is an online learning program that enriches your homeschool curriculum or offers a little more support at home that balances your school curriculum. It offers practice in math, English, language arts, science, and social studies. It adapts to each child, meeting them exactly where they are. So I have one kid who gets a little bored in math class and he wants more of a challenge. So I've used IXL to give him a little more work at home and really push him in his favorite subject. And then I have another child who's kind of struggled through some of his math units. And so we use IXL to get him a little more practice before those unit tests so that he feels more confident. And it has seriously been such a helpful tool for our family. IXL is easy to use. Everything is organized by grade, subject, topic, and subtopic, making it really simple to find activities for the exact skills that your kids are covering. IXL also offers instant feedback and explanations of new topics as kids use the program. So it's really helpful if you're using it to get a little extra support and practice in a particular subject. Like my family, you can make an impact on your child's learning and get IXL now. And Christian Parenting Podcast listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL memberships when they sign up today at IXL.com/today. Again, you can visit IXL.com/today to get the most effective learning program out there at the very best price. I know as a mom, it is so easy to put everybody else's needs ahead of yours. And I know this because I do it too. But when hormonal changes start to take a toll on your body, it is definitely time to start taking care of you. Hormone health is so much more than just a few symptoms. It affects everything from your mood to your energy levels to how you cope with stress. If you're a woman, you know how easily hormones can get out of balance, especially with all the daily stresses of life. And when that happens, it can feel like everything else is off too. But what if there is a simple habit that you could add to your routine that could make a huge difference? That's where Hormone Harmony by Happy Mammoth comes in. Happy Mammoth, the company that started Hormone Harmony, is dedicated to making women's lives easier, especially moms. And that means using only science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and it shows. The results are so impressive, you guys. There are over 40,000 reviews on their website, and women cannot stop talking about it on social media and in real life too. I know so many people who use Hormone Harmony and absolutely love it. In fact, a bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code CPPodcast at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code CPPodcast for 15% off today. And again, school is a factor. Home and church are also huge factors. And so if your family decides public school is the way to go, or homeschool or online or whatever, there's no right or wrong here. We have many friends who've actually left our private school to go to the public school. And they felt like for many reasons, that's the better choice for each kid, depending on academic scenarios and just their own personal faith and conviction. They've decided to send their kids in a different direction too. So there's no right or wrong. It's just what is going to work for each of your kids and for your family. And actually, I think that's a good point, each of your kids, because there might be some kids. We have some friends who have kids in different schools, because their kids have different needs. And that's really hard to navigate too. That's not something that we have to do, but I think we are open to, if our kids need to go to different schools, they can go to different schools.
We talk about
Sounds
it all
like a lot
the time.
of driving.
Sounds like everything is driving.
Everything's driving. It sounds like a lot of logistics, like all of parenting. But like if we need to send our kids to different schools, we would do that too. You really have to evaluate where your kids are and what environment is going to be best for them, because some schools may be more rigorous than others. Some may have just elements that are really exciting to kids, a different type of focus. So that's really important to consider. What are some tips that you would give parents who are trying to navigate this, trying to decide what school they want to send their kids to? Like what would you tell parents? Like give them some tips for helping decide.
Yeah, I would say talk to people you trust, first of all, that have made both decisions. I think that really helped me. We talked to people that made really conscious decisions to keep their kids in public school, that had sort of many of the same faith-rooted beliefs that we do. And they made the different choice. And they were really confident in their choice. And I really trust and value their opinion. And that helped me set one side of it. And then we talked to people that had made the private school choice. And I really trusted and valued their opinion as well. And it really helped me find people that we trusted that had made both decisions to sort of lay out the pros and cons of both and be willing to be brutally honest. And then I think we also talked to people that didn't have any kids in any schools yet. Their kids were little, and they had strong opinions. And it was really interesting to listen to what their opinions were that weren't colored by any experiences yet. And we talked to our parents. I mean, we talked to our faith community. We talked to a lot of people. If it had just been us making a decision in a vacuum, it would have led to really ugly stuff because I was just so hesitant that I was like, you're just trying to spend all of our money sending our kids to school that's going to do the same thing. And that was like my position. I remember talking to my brother at one point and being like, Steph's about to spend all of our money going to private school when we live in the best school district in the state. How am I going to fix this?
And here we are. And here we are. I think we also did spend time touring multiple schools. You know, like we toured multiple schools and talked to the administration in all the schools, like to kind of lay out like, these are our priorities. How are you going to align with that? And what does your school look like? Like, how are you teaching your kids responsibility? How are you educating the whole person, not just academics? I think that kind of became a shift as our kids got older. And I realized like, oh, in my homeschool year, when I was with them so much, it was like, school has to teach them a lot of skills, not just how to do basic math, you know? So we talked to the schools. How are you doing that in your environment?
We also were really honest about where our kids are. Like we were super honest when we were doing those school interviews and tours about where our kids are. And our kids are at different places, you know, academically and socially. And so, you know, there's kids all across, you know, the spectrum of academic ability and social ability. When you're saying, hey, we might have this really high flying, high achieving, you know, academically minded student that might suffer socially. How are they going to fit in this school? Or we have somebody who's high flying in all these categories. How are they going to fit in? What's their dynamic going to be? And we were really honest about that. One of our concerns with our oldest was that like, he's in the mighty middle and he is really capable and really intelligent and also loves to be around his friends and hang out and be goofy and silly and all those kinds of things that are super important socially. But we were sort of concerned in this really big school environment that he might get lost a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Because we had parent-teacher conferences in like kindergarten, first and second grade, where we were like, hey, what's going on? And we kind of got these answers like, oh, it's fine, nothing crazy and nothing terrible. And it was just fine. And we kind of were getting concerned that our teachers didn't really seem to be paying that much attention to our kid because their attention was focused on either the problem kids that were causing some distraction socially in the class, or maybe needed more academic help, or they were focused on these sort of star kids that they wanted to raise up and put on the flyers for school and say, we got these academic achievers, right? And so if you weren't marketing material and you didn't need additional help, you kind of got lost. And we were really nervous about that experience for a kid that was clearly not going to be in either one of those categories, right?
Yeah, we were worried about the size of our schools because our schools are very big around where we live. And so that was also a huge consideration, not just faith versus not faith, but size. Like we shifted from a very large public school district to kind of how I grew up, like 1,000 kids around in a class, to a very small private school for the sake of our kids just getting a little more time and attention. So that was also a consideration. Another thing I would say is to ask your kids where they want to go to school, but with a caveat, it always like amazes me how much weight parents put on that. Because like your kid, if you ask them where they're want to go to school, they are thinking about their friends. They are thinking about what sounds fun, maybe what seems like the easier school, like what does the most fun things. They're not looking at the long-term big picture of developing a worldview or finances. They're not like, ooh, this is going to be a financial sacrifice for our family. You know, like they're like really thinking about the moment for them because their brains aren't fully developed. So when we were trying to make our decision for Calvin, like we've asked him, where would you like to go to high school? And we've told him, we are going to take your opinion into consideration, but like you don't get to make the final say. Like that is not what you get to do. But like I for sure want to know what he desires and where he is leaning, where his heart is.
Yeah. I mean, remember, he told us that we ruined his life when we changed schools.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Like, he did tell us that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was mad at us for 2 solid weeks.
I forgot he did. We ruined his life in the 3rd grade.
But then it was like a month in. And we were putting him to bed and he was like, hey, you guys were right. This is really good. Like, this feels good. So, I mean, we prayed about it so much. I mean, you and I sat down and prayed about it, and we would have, a disagreement about it. And both of us would dig in because we're kind of stubborn, and we'd be like, I'm not going to lose this. And then we'd pray about it and sit there and think about it. And so like prayer helped inform our decision and really help us get there. And then, yes, Calvin was upset, but then it also sort of affirmed the decision-making process. And I think that was really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of to close us out, I feel like that this is one big decision in parenting, but there are so many big decisions that you have to make like this. So what have you learned about making big decisions with your spouse, partnering with me to make these things that feel like a really big deal and permanent? And like, what would you say about that? Like, what have you learned about that? What tips would you give for that?
I think one of the things that we've learned about making big decisions, you and I, whether it's school, whether it is a move, whether it's a job or whatever, is that we don't necessarily have to get to 100% agreement before we give it a shot. Like, I think we kind of got to the point with school where making the decision was like, you were way more in, even when I got on board, you were way more in the private school camp than I was. And we just had to get to a point where I was over 50% okay with it. And then we were really honest about like, hey, if this doesn't work out, we're yanking it. And so like we were willing to get there without having to be 100%. And if we had waited to be 100%, we might still be, in weird disagreement. Like we just gave it a shot and decided to see if it worked out. And we kind of had a plan in place for, okay, if it doesn't work out, what are we going to do? Right? Because we had to take the leap at some point. Like you're never 100% sure anything is going to work out. If it's a job or, buying a new house or whatever you're going to do. And so I think we really learned to communicate, to keep talking to each other and people around us and share our experiences, and then just give it a shot and see what happens and roll with it. Because, our whole marriage, we've been rolling with it. And I think it's like, we haven't been able to plan for anything, right? And so like things happen and you just kind of have to deal with it. And you learn to live in the moment, and it's brought us closer. It's helped us kind of knock ourselves down a peg from like thinking we've got it all figured out. And it's amazing how God shows up in those moments to fill the gap, right? Like even the financial thing that was a big concern for me, like, and this was one of those things where you were praying really intensely, right? For something to come along where you could cover the cost of private school so that it wasn't such a burden for me. And like, I got a raise that covered exactly what we needed. So like God showed up in that way to fill that gap. Right. And that's such an important thing. Is like, yes, you don't have to get to 100%. Right. But God is there to step in and fill that gap. And I think us recognizing that has really kind of been the secret sauce to the big decisions. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really good point. I think sometimes we feel like as humans, we have to be 100% on everything when we really don't. Like any decision, anything, even like, are we ready to have kids? Like, are you ever going to be 100% ready? Like, hopefully not, because you should know that it's scary. Like there are so few things in life that you're like 100%, yes, let's go for it. Like, so just getting there and knowing that you're in it together and that like you're just committing to, we're going to do this together. And it might be hard. We might have to change course and we might make the wrong decision, but we're going to make the wrong decision together. And then we're going to move forward and figure it out, because nothing's permanent. Like you can pull your kids from school. You can try one thing and then decide something else. So there's a lot of pressure. It is a big deal, but it's not the end all be all. Your kids will get an education no matter where they go. And there is research that says, and I say this all the time, but like faith happens at home. And so if that is your concern, like I want my kids to go to a Christian school because of faith, the finances are not going to align. We cannot swing it. Like it is okay. Like there's room there for anything that you need to do, and God will fill in. And that is, like you have to look at where your family is and what you can actually do. And there is no right or wrong, because God will be in all of it. God is not in one type of school. He's in all the schools.
Yeah, I agree. And I think God is in all of it, and God has put people in our lives to help us make these decisions too. You and I would make decisions in a vacuum just between the two of us, but they might feel like only your decision or only my decision, or like they hadn't been informed, or they were just on our opinion or our whims, right? Like we have these really trusted, close people in our lives, a lot of them. that I'm really grateful for, that are willing to, speak truth to us in ways that we need it. Sometimes they build us up when we need to be built up. Sometimes they hold us accountable when we're going off a little bit on our own. And I think just being open and vulnerable to those other voices and allowing the people that God has put in our lives to just treat us not with kid gloves has been really helpful, because we've had some good decisions that have been made because maybe some people that have challenged us, that have kind of shaken us off of our positions and been willing to listen to those people. And so I think that has also been part of it, is that we've nurtured these relationships with people in our lives that were already there and already in that trusted place. So that when we're making those tough decisions or going through things, we could share and be honest with them. And they could be honest with us without fear of, offending us, right? I mean, they can say tough things. We've got some people in our lives that are willing to be brutally honest and say some tough stuff, even knowing it might hurt our feelings, because we'll know ultimately that they're coming from a place of love and care, and they put us on the right track. And so I think that's a really good thing for us to have too. Like our friendships and our family relationships have been huge in all these big decisions. And you're not going to get it right all the time. Sometimes you make a mistake. Like even in their school journey, let's be honest. Like there have been times, even after the school choice, where we've gone, hey, have we made the right choice here? Right. And that
all the time.
Yeah. All the time. And for different kids, like we have 3 kids, they're all at the same school, and we go through, like we vacillate sometimes on whether or not we made the right choice. And I think we would, no matter what choice we made, but we kind of have to, like I said, roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to this series. Hopefully it can help some parents just feel like they are empowered to make a decision and they're not alone. We're all having to make these decisions, and we all are just kind of trying to figure it out moment by moment and do the best for our kids, because we love our kids and we want what's best for them. So hopefully this is helpful. Thank you for being on and just sharing some of our journey. I think it's helpful for people to know that like we're really, truly figuring it out with you. So we're in it with you. You are not alone. And hopefully that you're going to get some goodness out of these next few weeks.
I'm going to get some hot dogs out of this afternoon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We went to Costco today to feed all the people that are coming over after the last day of school. And I don't know how many packages of Costco hot dogs I got, but a lot. It's summer. It is summer. Well, Trevor, thank you for being on. I love you.
Love you too. See ya.
Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that this episode helped you process a little bit if you're discussing schools, and also made you feel a little less alone in the process. It can be overwhelming for sure, and we obviously really get it, and we're right there with you. Be sure to tune in the next few weeks as we discuss specific school options, the pros, the cons, and everything in between. And we're going to kick off next week with private school, so don't miss that. In the meantime, may God bless you and your family, and may you be reminded that as much as you love your kids, God loves them more. He writes their stories, He knows their paths, and He will guide them down every step of the way. I know that you want to raise your kids to know, love, and follow Jesus. But let's be honest, parenting with faith in today's world can feel really overwhelming. And that's why at Christian Parenting, we're here to equip you with the practical tools, encouragement, and biblical wisdom that you need to confidently lead your kids in faith. If you love listening to the Christian Parenting Podcast, and I really hope you do, you won't want to miss our Friday Favorites newsletter. Each week, we're going to send you quick, practical parenting tips, faith-building resources, and encouragement straight to your inbox so you never feel alone on this journey. And here's something special just for podcast listeners. When you sign up today, we'll send you a free copy of our Discipleship Simplified digital guide. It is packed with easy-to-use resources, conversation starters, and scripts to help you confidently answer your kids' tough faith questions. So don't miss out. Subscribe now at cppodcast.org to get the Friday Favorites newsletter and your free Discipleship Simplified guide. That's cppodcast.org, or just click the link in the show notes.